have mature products, like all said. We have the iPhone, we have Android, which are both mature products. And here you now have
coming out pretty strongly now, and he's been
exactly
CES.
And then you've got Microsoft bringing in this piece of this phone, which really isn't up to scratch. And I think the sort of rolling release excuse, if Microsoft were to make that, really won't cut it in today's market. If, like I said, it'd been the infancy of the smartphone industry, then fair enough, because they all had been trying out their ideas, etc., etc. But this is now.
Remember the parade that Microsoft did to say about the death of the iPhone.
Yeah.
Right. Did they ever do one which was far more appropriate and have the death of the kin? A whole parade saying the death of the kin. I mean, surely that would be. I mean, the iPhone's now on its 4th generation. It's going incredibly strongly. It's very desirable, not to me, but to a lot of people it is very desirable. It's certainly far from dying. So, I mean, really, a parade for the death of the kin would be.
There is a big difference also between the kin, and what you have to remember is you cannot really compare the iPhone to Windows Phone 7 because one is a platform and one is a phone, platform. But what lots of people tend to forget that there is no phone from Microsoft which runs Windows Phone 7, and it's really just them trying to fit Windows onto existing Android designs in companies like Samsung and HTC. Lots of people don't pay attention to the fact that they didn't actually make a Windows phone, any of these companies. It was just like trying to to appease Microsoft by putting their platform on some of the existing phone lines and maybe changing a few things. Whereas the King was actually a design that was supposed to be the Microsoft phone or the King. And that tells you the difference. Also, before that, they had the danger-derived devices. They had the the Sidekick. Has any of you heard about it recently? It's just vanished after the disasters. It's just nobody. I'm not sure anybody sells them anymore, to be honest.
No.
One of the things that I've noticed actually might be a segue. I don't know. But one of the things I've noticed, was listening to the Engadget podcast, and apart from Josh just constantly talking over people and waiting until his colleagues start speaking, and then he decides to just keep talking. But apart from that thing that's really getting annoying, and I don't know if I'm back. Right, I'm back on. There was something they said. They're at CES just now, and one of the things they'd said was a lot of people were starting to question now whether Microsoft have the moral authority to be a keynote speaker there, because for years Microsoft were there as a huge name in IT, a huge name in the industry, and they would do their presentation and they would introduce something to essentially attempt to wow the audience, to wow the whole industry. Whether or not they fall back on it or not. And it's like, Windows tablets, or the Kinect or something. They would do something that was reasonably major. Their keynote is in the position of an industry leader who innovate and who bring forth ideas that kick off new markets and things like that. And what they've been doing is this year, apparently, and last year, is they're increasingly just a Me Too, and even a poor cousin to Me Too. The Balmer's coming out and saying, "Wow, look at these Windows tablets," and people are going, "Windows 7 on a tablet? That's never going to work. It's just the standard Windows 7 operating system that's not designed for a tablet. They're just thrown on a tablet to say, hey, we've got a tablet too. Don't forget that iPad business. We've got a tablet as well, buy ours."
Did you see the prices on these things? One person who's also a big fan of Microsoft, and he came from a company called Directions on Microsoft, which is basically advising people who are big fans or users of Microsoft. He wrote an article in a Business Insider, I think it's called, and he was doing a price comparison based on what's available in CES. And he was showing that the same tablets from Asus, the AAA type of line, whatever you want to call it, the Android ones would cost like $400 or $500, and for pretty much the analog thing running Windows 7, it would be $1,000, so even more than twice the price just to get Windows 7 instead of Android. It was completely ridiculous. They cannot sell that. I think Asus would just put it there to appease the company, to appease the beast, so to speak.
I mean, I think the point that Engadget were making was, and I think more people are starting to notice that now, is that slot is for leaders. It's for people who are out there trying new things and saying this is where we envisage the industry to be, and whether they implement it well, that's open to debate. But increasingly they are followers. They followed Apple into the iPhone, into the smartphone thing. Android's already there, and the iPhone's already there. They're well late to the game on that. Tablets, they've been speaking about for a long, long time. They've never managed to do it until Apple arrived, and then Android's already apparently a reasonable OS for a tablet as well. So there's a lot of companies jumping on the Android thing. There's Migo, there's various others for the tablet, and they're desperate. Hey, we've got a tablet too. And then the same with the phone. Oh, look, we've got Windows Phone 7. We've got a smartphone as well. You don't need copy and paste. You don't need that. You don't need all these functions. So it's increasingly just a me too, and a poor relation and a me too. And the point is, this is a major tech company. And why? I mean, it's just showing you how pathetic Microsoft are now becoming. That their keynote, I mean, do they deserve their keynote status? Because they are not a leader anymore. They've ceased being a leader in anything for a long time.
What's troubling is they do create this sort of consensus where you assume that there is, like, you have like the two princes of technology or of software, and it'll be mostly Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and people will usually invite these people and talk to them as though they are the ones that brought computers to the masses. Now, about the tablets, actually, Microsoft has been around for a long, long time with tablets, but I think you have two generations of tablets, and one of them is the old generations where it was just a laptop shaped to something else, and then you have the post-OLPC generation where the boards became very, very cheap. Now OLPCs moved to $165 ARM-based boards, so they can actually sell these computers which work faster and only take 2 watts of energy, which means you can just use a crank for 1 minute to do 10 minutes of work, and actually use it on a reasonably well on a sort of a computer, soon to be a tablet. I think sometime later this year it will be a tablet that's going to be called OLPC. And Apple was just trying to cling on to the market of sub-notebooks once you had the cheap boards, and they were trying to distinguish themselves by making it a touchscreen-enabled thing, which uses the I call it HyperOS. It's actually called iOS, and that's just their operating system, which basically does almost nothing that's of use, like running multiple things and virtual desktops or any, you can forget about that. It's just mostly about the shop, and you run your apps and read books and whatever.
Here's a question for both of you, hypothetical. Now, Apple have got two different operating systems. They've got the Mac OS for the laptops and the desktops and stuff, and then they've got iOS for the portable devices. Android is a portable device OS. It's designed for small screens and all that. So what would the case be? I mean, so far we've seen all these tablets that are coming out to appease Microsoft or partners with Microsoft or whatever, and they're just shoving the desktop Windows 7 on it. What would happen if they decided, right, we'll run make a Microsoft tablet or a Windows tablet, but it's going to run something like a variant of the Windows Phone 7, a designed portable OS rather than a desktop one.
That's what they want to do, but they kind of fail now. With Windows Phone 7, it doesn't sell well, so they probably will have to bury this with the Silverlight kind of dependency it has. But they did speak about that just about a month ago. There were reports from certain people said that the plan was to run tablet with Windows Phone 7. But Windows,
Yeah, I mean, it does seem that the different companies that are doing tablets they're taking a smartphone operating system and scaling that up to a bigger screen. and they're still using all that same operating system, maybe rearranging the icons a bit, rearranging the UI a little bit, but it's the same OS essentially. So I'm just curious why Microsoft went with a desktop operating system where